Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here, and today we're taking a look at Like Dreamer. This is my All Plus Clear that I just did, I think yesterday, Thursday? Yeah. And so that was the first time booting up the game since my first look video when the game came out, day one. I don't recall when that was, a little over a week ago, I think. I didn't really feel drawn to playing too much, to be honest, because my focus was, and still is, rolling gunner at this point. But it was kind of nice just dipping into it yesterday for a little bit, and just to have something a little more casual. And it was really cool. Just hearing the music again, seeing the visuals, and just, yeah, playing something else for a short period. So I did get my 1cc on the first attempt, but because I have like no idea how any of the boss patterns go and all that stuff, there were just a lot of really silly fumbles here and there. So in the first run I didn't trigger the TLB, but in this one I was just determined to play really cleanly and pay as close attention as I could to things. That being said, you'll still see quite a few fumbles here because it's not like I have any sort of experience with this game. So the playing you're seeing is kind of like without having learned anything, memorized anything, or even practiced anything for that matter, of course. But yeah, it's a wild time. I did sample, I think, just like maybe 20 or 30 seconds with some of the other characters, and it was just really not my cup of tea, so I just switched back to this girl. And this is certainly my preferred character and style when it comes to most games. Just something that's a little more focused. I say this often enough in certain videos, like I don't typically go for like widespread shot types and things like that. It can be fun, but for the most part I just really enjoy like straight shooting where there's that higher concentration. So in Like Dreamer, I definitely feel there's a noticeable difference between the Maniac mode in this game compared to Cosmo Dreamer. Either that, or maybe I've just gotten more experienced because of my time with Cosmo Dreamer and other games. But yeah, I still feel like this one is a little more forgiving and a little less intense. Because when I think about some of the later bosses in Cosmo Dreamer, like the one that looks like a pirate or whatever, I remember when I was first playing that game, that boss was like the first wall I came up against, and it took some figuring out and all that kind of stuff, and then cleaning up and everything. Whereas this, like I said, like it didn't require any playing or practicing really to just go right for the TLB on the second run. So that's yeah, it's tricky to say one way or another whether that's just because the game is actually just like balanced differently or what, but who knows. But oh man, my daughter was sitting with me while I was playing this yesterday, and it's just such a friendly game. Like when you jump in, like she was really enjoying it, and I can definitely see why. Like everything just has little faces on it and stuff like that, and the music is fantastic every step of the way. There are some songs I'm not as crazy about, but it's still just a really pleasant time. So I definitely want to get this commentated and put out there. Just share my thoughts and everything. And the colors in this game are really, really soft. I love it. It's just a very, despite how it can look, there's just something very easygoing about it. And it just serves as a really nice casual experience. It's not really the kind of game I feel like going all out in. There's really no part of me that feels gripped in that way. Like I might experiment with going up in the higher difficulties for this, but yeah, it's not really a priority at this point. I think what's likely to be the case is like I have my Maniac All Plus, and then down the road, that's probably when I would come back to it and buckle down and do things if I'm looking for that kind of experience. But at this point, I'm still playing Rolling Gunner, working on the guide videos that I want to put together for original mode and expert mode. And so that's been a lot of fun. And I think I mentioned this in the first look, but if I didn't, both this and Cosmo Dreamer feel super, super glidey, like very slippery and all over the place. I'm using the D-pad on the Pro controller right now, not the stick I normally use. It was more or less just for the sake of convenience during this session in particular. But yeah, it's just crazy how everything feels risky. Like just moving around feels like a major risk. Whereas if they had it set up where, like, you know, when you're holding down the focus shot and you're moving slower because of that, I would love an additional option where you can do that again once you're in that state, or just like a secondary button or something to go even slower than that, because I'd probably just be doing that a lot more. This is a great stage. And the stage before the final stage, like the TLB stage, that stage has so like the second last stage, that stage has like some wicked, absolutely wicked music. It's like one of the best songs I've heard in a shmup in quite some time. Not necessarily the whole thing, but there's a section that you just feel so pumped when you're playing, and I love it. This music is fantastic. This is another one of my favorites from Like Dreamer. I love the enemy variety in this. It's a very satisfying game. Worth every penny, that is for sure. And just the... very similar to Cosmo Dreamer, I love that they didn't really focus on all the songs kind of like sounding in the same vein. There's just a ton of variety. Spreading, yeah, a handful of genres, and I think that's really cool. I think one thing that's very apparent in this game is just, to me anyway, based on how this run went, is just how easy it is to corner yourself. Because I think there are, I think maybe 2 or 3 times where I just, yeah, I moved into the corner too early. and then bombed my way out. So those are resources that don't really need to be, used, but were. So that's kind of one thing that I'm aware of after the 2 runs that I did. Plus, it was nice unlocking the extra information window that you can put to the side, which has the what appears to be the tally for how many times you've taken a hit, which I definitely wanted to have up and keep track of since I was going for the TLB, but since I nailed it as early as I did, it wasn't super necessary. This is a great song, too. Also, I get that grazing is a huge thing in this game. I don't do any grazing in this run. I don't even if I did, it's not intentional. It's because I happen to be close to bullets or something. But I don't even think about grazing when I play this. So if I was intentionally playing that way and kind of optimizing my approach or playstyle or routing or whatever, if I was to actually memorize and practice the stages, then that would probably be a lot more advantageous. Another boss down. A lot of the side wave enemies that come in can be pretty deadly if you're not kind of placing yourself to the sides more often than not, because that's another thing I noticed very quickly, is that they like to pepper those waves in quite a bit, and so it may not look like it, but for the most part it is very much just a sway from one side to the other. That was one of those instances where because I'm specifically going for the TLB, I don't want to take any chances taking hits. So where I normally might risk just dodging, I was like, you know what? You can only take whatever it is, 6 hits or something like that. Something to that effect anyway. So I just thought, yeah, I'm just going to bomb instead. Oh, man. I wonder what this dev is going to do next. Yeah, these games are just, a lot of fun. And I do like having casual experiences like this to kind of just pepper in to other, in and amongst other things. whether it's like a main grind, like, well, not grind, but like whether you're just like chipping away at a bigger project, like a really tough, weeks and weeks long arcade shooter, or you're playing like an RPG or whatever the case is. It's just nice to have something. I sometimes just resort to calling things like a grind, even though I don't actually feel it's a grind. Like, that's not how I view it when I'm playing. So yeah, I think I just mean like something that's longer, bigger investment of time and energy. But generally speaking, I don't even call it that to begin with. That just kind of came to mind for whatever reason. Anyway, next boss. This is a fun one. And it gets pretty nasty too. Again, like, I'm just not taking chances, so it was just bomb. With how close that ice cream cone is, this part can feel kind of like wild at times. I always love when that triggers during a boss fight, because you know you just get to rip through the phase very quickly. Oh man, that was close. There's a very similar attack in Cosmo Dreamer, and I don't actually feel this one is very threatening, but again, when you just don't want to take hits at all, because like I feel all it takes is like 2 or 3 fumbles early enough, and then it's like, okay, well, if you take just another 2 or 3 in the later stages, then yeah, you're just doing the run all over again. So this is the second last stage, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll definitely point out the part of the song that I just absolutely love. And then maybe during that, I'll just stop talking for a short period and you can just enjoy. But to be honest, the whole song is pretty awesome too. Oh, that was brutal. It's just really satisfying taking down these enemies. Oh, that was really close. It's this part here. Yeah, some of those halfway bosses are just awesome. I do like that this character does have a bit of like side attack. Like it's not a full-on wide shot, obviously, but there's just enough that you can start kind of clipping enemies that are coming in from the sides and then tap dodging away. So that definitely comes in handy with how often this game likes to try cornering you with side waves. I like how pretty much the last half of the the game's duration are just the final two stages. Oh, man. There's a lot to really enjoy in this. I'm just kind of lapping this up now that I'm in the seat of the viewer and not in the action myself. I was not going to risk that. In other news, I've been really enjoying Octopath Traveler 2 ever since my copy showed up. That game is incredible. But here we are. One thing I did notice in this game compared to the other one, in the other one, I think the final boss has something outrageous, like 8 or 9 hearts, so like phases, whereas this one definitely doesn't have as many. I'm not sure what the TLB in the other game is like, because I've never buckled down for that. But it might be, yeah, it could even be like more, but it didn't feel like they were going over the top with the phases this time around. Oh, I remember when I used that bomb, I was like, man, as if we're using one so early, and all because we just got trapped. Oh man, patterns like that are easy to fumble. The game definitely lays the pressure on during times like this. See, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I had only taken one hit upon entering, and now I'm already sitting at 4 hits. Like, holy smokes. I forget what the cutoff point is, if you just have to, like, beat the stage with no more than 6 hits taken. There's another hit, like, holy smokes. So I was like, you gotta be joking me, like, I've just gotta, like, do everything in my power to not mess anything up. Just in case I'm off about how the condition works or the timing, because I do not want to not trigger that TLB. But we did it, so... Final stage. So if you haven't looked into it or played this stage yourself, this is kind of like a boss rush. But of course there are breaks in between each fight. Where you have waves of enemies and all that kind of stuff. There's one section, I'm not sure which boss it is against. It might even be the TLB, but there's a really nasty attack where things come up from behind. And I think that nailed me a couple times during this run, just because I wasn't aware it was going to happen. But for the most part, things are easy enough to kind of stay on top of once you just, yeah, know which enemies to prioritize and how they attack and what's what. Then you can kind of just start processing things faster and more efficiently. Bullet cancels are awesome. So is the fact that focus shot exists. I love being able to just switch back and forth, speed kill things, and just... yeah, there's such a level of control you can achieve in these games with certain mechanics, and it's just fantastic. It's just really engaging, very rewarding. Some of these enemies I haven't seen since doing the first look, and I think that's because story mode or whatever it was I checked out that day, I think you see certain enemies that just don't show up in trial mode unless you make it to this stage, like the skateboarders and those big Egyptian style like eye spheres that just started showing up like, I'm not sure, 20 seconds ago or something. So I had actually forgotten about those. I was very thankful for that because I got a cancel out of it, and then we were well situated for just cleaning up these guys pretty quickly. And here's another example. I remember seeing these first day I played the game, but then you don't see them ever again until you make it here, if you do. The tanks. Same with this dude, or whatever. I forget some of these characters. Or maybe it's supposed to be a princess or something, I'm not sure who that is, but... But yeah, as you can see, like, the action, the pacing, it does not let up in this stage. I was not gonna fiddle around with that. And at this point, only having like 3 lives, or I'm not sure if 0 counts in this, I don't recall. But I knew, like, okay, I need to play really, really well here because I know the TLB is going to be just insane. I've never seen it before because I've never looked it up. But I just knew it's going to throw a lot at my way, so, like, taking a hit in this stage is just not an option. I do not want to lose lives. Man, oh man. Oh, that was close. Man, wild stuff. Oh my god. When the music stops, you know things are about to get serious. Yeah, there's a lot to pay attention to here. Oh my god. But I'm thinking like, okay, I just have to make it through these 2 final phases. But with when I noticed that the boss kind of like blinks out of existence and pops up elsewhere, I was like, oh man, that's gonna mean like less damage if I'm not lined up. Oh, that was one of the attacks where it's like you don't realize that things are kind of just creeping along the bottom, like, oh man, as if. So at this point I was watching for that now. I was super glad not to get hit there. Oh man, oh man. Just not fiddling around. Okay, so it's just... we cannot mess this up. And we didn't. Wow. So thankful for that. Yeah, what a wild time. Crazy stuff. Anyway, that wraps that game up for now anyway. Thank you so much for checking this out, everybody. We unlocked a few things. And yeah, so yeah, it was really cool watching over this and just crushing that mode in its entirety. I'm not sure what else I really show here. Probably nothing. So anyway, I'll just do my wrap-up speech. Yeah, thanks again. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments below if you're playing this or you'd like to check it out. And if you've been tackling the TLB yourself or if you've dominated that already. Whatever you feel like sharing. But yeah, have a stellar day. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time.